order in about 30 seconds. So. All right, so I'm ready to call the meeting to order. Member Lowe. Say present or not present.
Present.
Member Underhill, same.
Present.
Great. Member Dodd, present. Okay, 3 members being present. We have a full quorum and a full board. So I'm calling this meeting of the Englewood Environmental Foundation to order. It's Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 at 3:30 in the afternoon via Zoom. The first, besides call to order, the second item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have the January 10th, 2023 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the January 10th meeting minutes.
Great. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. Christina? Okay, any discussion? Okay, we'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no opposed, no abstentions. Great. All right. Number 3, recognition of public comment. Michelle, do we have anyone write in that they wanted to give a public comment?
No.
Great. Do we have anyone on the call who would like to give a public comment? All right, so we're on to number 4, new business. 4A, purchase order approval request with NH Bighorn Contracting for street sweeping services around Eve property. And we do have a memo. Melinda or someone from Public Works, would you like to do a quick presentation on this?
Yes.
Oh, thanks, Trey. Good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah. So I was Bighorn. They used to sweep around the Eve area before a few years back. And so when I called them, I didn't know this until I met the guy, and kind of did a brief. I sent them over what we needed, a scope of work, and so they'll be street sweeping the streets, parking lots, both levels. Anytime we need them out. So if it's an emergency, the parking lot's real dirty, we can call them out anytime. And that's all I got.
Okay.
So, and on that,
Anyone else?
the amount of the contract for the sweeping is the amount we've got budgeted.
Melinda, quick question. Is this a new vendor or
Yes, that is correct. Armstrong Sweeping had been providing the service in the past, and they didn't renew their contract with us this year. So Trey we reached out to a number of street sweeping companies, and then Trey was able to meet and get the proposal from Bighorn. So they are a new vendor.
Okay, thank you.
What does the sweeping schedule kind of look like? I mean, is it looks like it's 1 time per month, is that correct? For streets, the parking garage, parking lots. Is that correct? 1 time each?
Yes. Yeah, 1 time a month.
And then if we needed to, for example, if we had a lot of residue from snowfall or something else happened, the service, we could call for additional, and that would be $120 per call.
Yes. Yeah. Any additional service, we can call them out anytime. So.
Okay. Traditionally, is there more of a need for sweeping like in the spring after like the last snowfalls?
I think usually after like in the fall, usually, and definitely the spring. I think in the wintertime with all the salt residue.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Do you have any questions, any additional questions?
Another question, what is the term of this contract?
And we, because these contract extensions and this new contract, we had set them up as a month-to-month contract for 1 year. And so Bighorn's contract is also set up that way. That just gives us some flexibility if something happens that the E Foundation is dissolved in the coming year. And then we will need to reissue RFPs this summer to find new vendors to take care of these services, because all of the existing vendors were out of the allowable amount of renewals. And so it will have to check on Bighorn's contract if it'll go to the more standard format of just a contract for the year with the option of renewing.
Great, thank you, Melinda.
And Melinda, last question I have is the not to exceed amount is 28,000.
Yes, that is correct. And that is the amount we allowed in the budget for the EVE properties.
Okay. Great, then could I get a motion to approve a purchase order request for street sweeping services with NH Bighorn Contracting for not to exceed amount of $28,000?
I'll make a motion.
Great, do I have a second? I'll second.
Second,
Thanks, Jackie. Great, do we have any further discussion? If not, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed? Not voting? Okay, motion carries unanimously through a voice vote. Thank you, Trey, for the presentation, and thank you, Melinda, as well. All right, next is a purchase order approval request with TKE for RTD elevator maintenance. Trey, do we have a quick presentation on this one?
Yeah, and actually, I'll go ahead and do the presentation for the elevator purchase order. And this is the purchase order for the full maintenance of the RTD elevator for 1 year. And it is in the not to exceed amount of $50,000. And the $50,000 will cover the platinum service agreement, and they bill quarterly for that. And the remaining amount will be used for service calls and emergency repairs. And of course, as you know, so many people work so hard to get that elevator up and running, and then unfortunately, because of vandalism and so forth, we've had to do a number of repairs almost weekly to keep it running. So that's why we've got quite a bit to cover those service calls throughout the year. And this too, the amount that was approved in the EVE CAM budget was the $50,000 that we're requesting. And we have had the platinum service agreement with TK Elevator since August of 2020. And this agreement does renew every year. And TKE is the optimal source because the RTD elevator is manufactured by Tyson Group. And I believe that they've been responsive when they've been called on service and emergency repairs required. So yeah, and so we're asking for board approval of the purchase order for TK Elevator.
Yeah, thank you, Melinda. Is this arrangement the same as we did in the past, like 4 installments and the rest is for emergency calls. Is it the setup the same as the past?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, the service agreement this year is like you said, it's billed quarterly. And the billings will be $684.15. So the service agreement total then is $2,736.60. And then the remaining amount of that $50,000 is set aside to cover the repairs.
Thank you.
And what do we, I know it's hard to predict or estimate, but the types of repairs we've had in the last year, is there an average cost in terms of how much each one it typically is, or have they varied tremendously?
We need to remember that this elevator is marked down for a substantial amount of time. So we're still getting, so we've had it down basically on a weekly basis. We'll be up in the last.
Right. Sorry, I think I might get cut off, Chris, at the end, but yeah, I know it was down for a lot of the year in 2022, but I know it also seemed like it was like a recurring thing that it would go down. So I'm just wondering, each of those times they come out approximately, like how much was, well, if it was, if it wasn't a complicated or a special case, like roughly how much was each repair?
Trey, do you know how much the repair was 2 weeks ago?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten an invoice from them, but it's time and material, every time they come out, if they when they do. So still waiting on those invoices to come in.
Okay.
But it does vary, if they rip the buttons out, if they rip the panel out, mess up the floor, things like that. So kind of just have to make sure we have enough money for any of that. Because it does happen. It happens weekly. So
Okay. Any other questions from Jackie or Christina?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jackie. Christina, anything?
No questions.
All right, can I get a motion then to approve the purchase order request for RTD elevator maintenance with TKE, formerly Tyson Coupe Elevator, for a not to exceed amount of $50,000?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thanks. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor will do a voice vote, say aye.
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 Any opposed, any abstaining? Great, motion carries unanimously through a voice vote. Okay, we're on to new business item C. Funding of additional services request number 1 from Dig Studios for supplemental planning and facilitation services pertaining to the potential redevelopment of the city center core area. And welcome to Dan Paremba for a presentation.
Thank you, Tim. Hi, EAF board members. This is a relatively straightforward item. It's a request for additional services from Dig Studio. This is part of our reset on the city center redevelopment following the withdrawal of SKB Triba last October. We selected Dig Studio to facilitate a working session with city council members, EDDA board members, and LNR representatives. And that was held on February 11th. There were certain aspects of that discussion that expanded the scope of Dig Studios work, and that's basically the reason for their requested additional services. They're requesting a total addition of $10,700. We are splitting this with LNR partners. So the request of EAF is $5,350 for the expanded services, and it includes the drawing of an additional concept plan for city center, as well as some additional interactions with the stakeholders leading up to follow-up meetings with both the city council and the EDDA board in late March. And this follows, we had really a track record of about 4 years of Eve funding a number of development related expenses, and this is really in that category. And there'll be, I think, some consideration of partnered expenses going forward, particularly in the context of the expected dissolution of Eve. But for today, it's just a request of $5,350.
Yeah, Dan, thank you for the explanation. Quick question. So the entire contract is 35,000. Let me see the dollar amount. It's a entire
36.
36. So the 10, you said includes additional 10,000 that's included in the entire 36,000.
That's in addition to the 36,314.
Okay, so who paid for the 36,000 original contract?
So that's still underway, and it's community development, and L&R partners are splitting that expense. It was, so as we get into additional amounts, they were not budgeted by community development.
So are you expecting any additional charges in addition to this 10,000? So we just want to plan for the future. Yeah.
Not specifically with DIG, but as we get further into the discussion about the reset of redevelopment, we could see that there would be additional expenses that might come up related to appraisals and things such as that.
Okay. So thank you. Dan, do you know the reason how we come up with a 50% split with LNRs? Because we're going to do some marketing together, or do you have more information from community development?
Yeah, it was just figured that we're trying to really be collaborative and partner-like with them. So 50-50 seemed like a reasonable number. And in terms of the acreage involved in the CityCenter redevelopment, we have actually each have about 50% of the total acreage.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is hard to predict in, but do you feel after this additional funding, would there be any other needs for DIG Studios to complete their work?
It's hard to predict, Tim, at this point. If everything goes as planned, we would like to see the city council and the DDA board sign off on the revised concept plan in March. It's certainly possible that both bodies might raise some additional concerns that would require further work, but we're trying to remind both of them that the concept plan is just illustrative, and it's just basically to accompany an anticipated RFP, and that respondent developers will be free to propose their own specific plans.
Thank you. Any other questions, Jackie or Christina?
No, I'm clear. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion can we have a motion to approve $5,300 for additional service request number 1 from DIG Studios for supplemental planning and facilitation services pertaining to the potential redevelopment of the city center core area? You
Yeah.
get a motion?
Yeah, I'll get a motion.
Thanks,
I'll make
Jack.
a motion. Mhm.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second, just with the correction, it's $5,350.
Thank you. I'll accept that friendly amendment. Yeah, for $5,350. Any further discussion? Okay. All right, let's vote. I'll do a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, abstention? Great, motion carries unanimously. 3 voice votes with 3 members being present. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and it's about time to adjourn. I just wanted to quickly mention, I think you all, Jackie and Christina, saw on the email come back from the city attorney's office that we have received the environmental report from one of the 2 properties. So we don't have a date for the second one, but we're expecting in the next few weeks. So I will be setting up, once we receive the second one, a meeting, or Michelle will be setting it up. Thanks, Michelle, in advance. A meeting for us to discuss the dissolution of Eve and the next steps based on recommendations from council if we do receive a second satisfactory report. So hopefully that will come at some point in March.
Sounds good.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, great, by voice vote carries unanimously, hearing none in opposition. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.